Hi students. Yesterday we took the grammar lesson. It was an interesting lesson that was about an easy thing that we always use in our sentences, which are called conjunctions. Now we took two parts of the conjunctions that we have. So in the grammar part, yes, we took the whole mapping. We had the paired conjunctions, like for example, both and, not only, but also, either or, neither nor. And then we took the other kind of conjunctions, which are single in the sentence, and we can also call them coordinating conjunctions, like and, but, or, so, and, yet. They are used to join two sentences, or we can say clauses, and make them into one complete sentence. And we said that the best thing about the conjunctions here, that they can help shorten the sentence instead of just repeating small sentences. Now, we did this part on page number 56, and I told you that there is the other 5 sentences that you can also apply together. And then we have here this exercise. Now we have here page number 57 in your book. There is to combine each pair of sentences using a paired conjunction. Note, a paired conjunction. And if you can see the first example, the Statue of Liberty is in New York. The Empire State Building is in New York. So you can see that there is a repeated part in each sentence. So we are going to join them and say, both the Statue of Liberty and the Empire State Building are in New York. So we shortened the sentence a little bit, and we used the conjunction both and. The second one, she broke her leg, she dislocated her shoulder. So she has, we have here two kinds of injuries. Now we're going to say that not only did she break her leg, but also dislocated her shoulder. And the third sentence, we have Bill James didn't succeed in climbing Mount Everest, and Charlie Bauer didn't succeed in climbing Mount Everest. We have repetition here also. So we are going to just shorten and say, neither Bill James, of course we chose neither. Why? Because we have here the negative part, didn't. So neither Bill James nor Charlie Bauer succeed in climbing Mount Everest. Okay, now we have here in this table, first match the independent clauses. So we are just going to match the parts together. And then after that, we can use we can use coordinating conjunctions and correct them. So I just wanted to make sure that we're not using paired conjunctions, just a coordinating conjunction, which is the singular type, and, but, or, and so on. So we have here, we're going to see the first one is done. You can admit your mistake, which goes with C. You can just hope no one notices it. I told them I'd come over for dinner. So you are invited. You are going to come over for dinner. I'm not feeling very well. So this matches the other part or the other meaning. He's a vegetarian, so I'm talking about a guy here. And we can see E goes with it. We have here, he's not going to eat any beef burgers. She's lied to her more than once. So we're talking about two females. And it goes with A. She continues to consider her a friend. One of their children lives in Japan. So we're talking about parents who have children. One is in Japan, and we can see that B, the other lives in Argentina. And then we have here 6, he's very comfortable in the US, and we have left D, he continues to miss his home in Brazil. So actually, I'm just going to do 2, and you can just follow the same pattern. So we can choose randomly here. We can say, for example, let's choose number 5. One of their children lives in Japan, and I'm talking about the other child, so the best thing is just to use and the other lives in Argentina. But note here, as the question says, that you have to focus on the punctuation. which means that you are going to just remove the full stop from the first part and put a comma instead. That's it. Let's choose another one. Let's choose number 3. He's a vegetarian, and the other part, he's not going to eat any beef burgers. So it is better to just use the word so, or the conjunction so, because it is a result. He is a vegetarian, so he is not going to eat any beef burgers. And you can follow the same pattern and do the kind of combining between the sentences. Okay, now we'll move on. Going back to our basic topic here, the world of TV. In the first lesson, which was the listening and discussion, we had various kinds of movies or films that we discussed. And yesterday, also in the grammar lesson, we mentioned also the idea of movies. But if you think about it, the world of TV is not just about films or movies. There are a lot of things that you can see on TV. Actually, some people, they do not watch films at all. So here, just think about the things that you like to watch on TV. What are your favorites? What are the programs that you see? What is the thing that attracts you most about TV? So we can see that there are a lot of examples. Now here, just think about the programs. You can think about a lot of things. So we have here the question, what other things do you like to watch on TV? Like this little girl, what do you think that is suitable for her to watch on TV? No, there are a lot of children's programs, cartoons, animations also that are suitable for her. We can say that people, they just watch for news. Other people, they see different programs, documentaries, they can be kinds of series. There are a lot of things that you can watch on TV as well. There are live shows also that you can follow. Have you ever watched something on TV and found it hard to swallow? So if you do not know the expression hard to swallow, here you can understand from the context, some things that you watch, they are hard to swallow. You feel that they are not acceptable for you. And just to make sure of it, we are going to pass by it again in the conversation part, but put in mind this expression, hard to swallow. And actually, we have some kind of Arabic version of the same thing. Okay. Another question. What kinds of TV programs or people's actions are a dime of a dozen? So also here we have another kind of phrase here, a dime of a dozen. And actually this is true. Some programs are, you feel that they're a dime of a dozen. And we have to just go back and say that this is a point of view or an opinion. Someone else can have another opinion about it. Yes. Now, one of the basic things that people follow or people watch on TV are sports. So we have here different kinds of sports. There are different games, matches. There's a whole season that you can just watch on TV. But the question is, do you like to watch a game, for example, alone? Or do you prefer to have someone with you to watch the game? So some people, they like to share, they like to comment, they like to just enjoy the game, watching the game with someone else. And some people, they don't like to be bothered and they just watch it themselves. A lot of people enjoy watching sports games together, but do they always enjoy it? Meaning, do they always enjoy the company of someone else with them? Do they always agree on something? Do they fight sometimes? Do they have a kind of different kind of discussion? So we're going to see here. Have you ever dozed off while watching a game because you were not interested in it? So this is a question. It doesn't have to be just with games, even in programs, even in films, any kind of thing that you are watching. Sometimes when you are watching something, you lose interest to the extent that you suddenly doze off. So here from the picture, you can see very clearly what is the meaning of the word doze off. Yes, now let's just share these pictures. You can see these guys here. They are watching a game together, a basketball game. And here they look very excited and interested in it. And then here you can see that they are not quite excited like before. You can see also here that someone is still watching and someone lost interest. At the end, well, they look very happy. So maybe they got interested again in the game and very excited. So here, these guys, when they watched the game together, there was a kind of discussion that they had, or a conversation that they had, of course, about the game that they are watching. So this is what we're going to do and talk about. We are going to see how to agree and disagree with someone, especially on a topic that is shared at the moment. So we have here like these two guys. Now someone is agreeing and the other is not very happy. So there is a kind of disagreement here. We're going to see in our lesson how to agree or disagree with someone else around any kind of topic. It doesn't have to be something related to TV. So our lesson is going to be conversation. Our learning objectives. First, to give the meanings of words based on the text, as usual. You are going to understand the whole text, and like the expressions that I gave you, you're going to see what are the meanings and how to understand more within the context. 2, to answer questions and express opinions. Number 3, to use real talk and specific phrases in sentences. Number 4, to agree or agreeing and use disagreeing phrases in conversations. Now, we are going to meet Fahad and Adil. They are watching a basketball game. You are going to listen to a conversation between the two guys. But please note that you have to first just try to put in mind the phrases that I showed you before, the real talk phrases, and also the kind or the types of words that are used to disagree or agree within the topic. So let's move on.
That was such a fantastic basketball game on TV.
You must be joking.
Why? Didn't you like it?
I thought it was a terrible game. The whole thing was just awful.
What didn't you like about it?
For one thing, the Bulls' key player missed every easy shot. It really bothered me throughout the entire game.
Well, you're right about that. But what else didn't you like?
I thought their uniforms were ridiculous. I found the whole idea of the Bulls players wearing cowhide tops hard to swallow.
I don't agree at all. The whole idea is to stand out in the game. The tops are not real cowhide. It's fake cowhide.
I'm not sure they were fake. Think of all the poor animals they took the hides from. They must believe that the poor animals are a dime a dozen. Anyway, by the end of the game, I started to doze off.
We seem to have very different tastes in basketball and uniforms. Maybe next time we get together we should just go out to a restaurant.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay. So we have here, this was the conversation between Adil and we have here Fahad. Now, you have in the book 2 questions. The first one, what did Adil like about the game? And the second one, what did Fahad dislike about the players? So it is very obvious that the two guys here, they had different points of view. The first one, Adil, he enjoyed the game and he thought that it was an exciting game. But Fahad, he wasn't very satisfied with the players and he didn't like the cowhide tops that they were wearing and thought that they were taken from real animals. So he has a point of view, and we see that Adil, he did a lot of, or he used a lot of expressions. He one time agrees and the other time he disagrees. So just to go back, we're going to see first of all the first part, which is the real talk. Now in the conversation, we can see that Fahad here, he said, I thought it was a terrible game. The whole thing was just awful. So we have here just awful here. If I say that something is just awful, this is an informal way, and we repeated several times that real talk in general is an informal way to talk. They are expressions that you can use in everyday conversation. So here, just is the same meaning as if I say very or really. Very awful or really awful, but it would be informal to just say just awful. Also, Fahad said in another part, I thought that their uniforms were ridiculous. I found the whole idea of the Bulls players wearing cowhide tops hard to swallow. So this is the part like the first that I showed you here. Now, if you think that something is unacceptable, you do not believe it, or you just feel that it is not something that you may accept, you can say hard to swallow. So here, the meaning of the book, they wrote not too easy to believe, but actually it's not just about believing, it's anything that you accept or you do not accept. If you do not accept a fact, an action, a game, or whatever, it would be hard for you to swallow. Also, we have here, Fahad said, I'm not sure that they were fake. Think of all the poor animals they took the hides from. They must believe that the poor animals are a dime of a dozen. So if something is too common or too normal, to the extent that you just think that it's doesn't have any value, it's very cheap, or maybe there is any value from the start. So we have the book, of course we have the second one. Anyway, by the end of the game, I started to doze off. We agreed that dozing off means to fall asleep. And the book explains a dime of a dozen, meaning something so common that it doesn't have value. Okay, now we come to the second part, which is agreeing and disagreeing. So here you have to focus more. If you have a conversation about anything, it doesn't have to be about a game, any topic that you have in mind and you are discussing with someone, there are ways to agree or disagree by applying simple phrases. So we're going to go back to the conversation again. You can see here. Yes, now when Adil said that was such a fantastic basketball game on TV, Fahad replied, you must be joking. So it is clear here that he is not very happy about what Adil said. And this is a kind of disagreement. But at the same time, we can say that it is not a very polite way unless you are a very close friend to the person that you are talking to. Also, you can see here, now Adil, when Fahad expressed his point of view, Adil said, well, you're right about that, but what else didn't you like? So here, he is approving or he is agreeing with what he said by just giving a simple expression, you're right about that. Another thing, you can see that in another way, when Adil said, Fahad said something else, Adil replied, I don't agree at all. So it's not just about agreeing. When he felt that it's something that he cannot accept, he said, I don't agree at all. So here he has another point of view, which is very different. And also here we can see that we have Fahad says, I'm not sure, they were fake. So he is not 100% sure, but he's disagreeing by saying, I'm not sure. And then at the end, when Adil suggests that the next time they just go to a restaurant, notice here how he agrees. Fahad agrees by saying, I couldn't agree more. So actually here, the sentence has a kind of negative form, but it is agreeing. So I couldn't agree more means that I'm agreeing so much that there's no more. Okay, so we have here, I couldn't agree more. So at the end, we have here a table, a complete table, and they are not all mentioned in your conversation. First of all, we have here phrases to say when you agree with someone. You can say, I agree completely. You can also say, I couldn't agree more, like Fahad. You're absolutely right, which means that, okay, so we have here, there is no doubt in it. And you're right about that. Also, it's a kind of agreement. On the other hand, we have here disagreement, or disagreeing phrases, we can say, you can add, I'm sorry, but I don't agree with you. So here, the first or the basic thing that I can say is, I don't agree. You can say also, you can add, I don't agree with you. And you can give the complete phrase, I'm sorry, I don't agree with you. We have the second part, I see it differently, and which is a very polite way to disagree, because this proves that there is no wrong or right. So sometimes you don't want to say to the person that he or she is wrong and you are right, or the opposite. So it's just about different points of views. That's why we have here, I see it differently, which means that I have another point of view, another opinion. It doesn't have to be the same as yours, but it doesn't mean that someone is wrong and someone is right. Also after that, I totally disagree, as we have in the conversation. I don't really agree, or I can add, I'm afraid I don't really agree, which just gives you a polite sense in the sentence. And then we have here, I'm not so sure about that. And the last one, you must be joking, and we agreed that here this sentence or this phrase does have an informal sense in it, and it is not very polite unless you are very close to the person you are talking to. So now is your turn, your assignment, which is to role play, or it is your turn to role play with a partner. Think of a situation in which two people might disagree. Discuss your opinions using the phrases for agreeing and disagreeing. So here you can choose any kind of topic that you want, but as usual, I advise you to choose something that you already talk about, something that you share, you have different discussions or points of view in it, and then just turn this topic that you have into a conversation and use the phrases either they are agreeing or disagreeing. And at the same time, you can use the real talk. You can use also things from before you have learned. Like, let's say, for example, Fahad and Adil here, they were not on the same wavelength as we took in Unit 1. So it doesn't have to be just about using the real talk that you have in the unit. You can go back, you can use something that you have already learned, and just try to combine between your lessons. So at the end, our outline is, we had a discussion about a game, just to remember. Now we have here, we did the listening part and answered questions, predicted meanings of words from the text, and which means that we had the real talk and we tried to guess the meanings from the text. Your turn, which is to build conversations using discussion phrases and to apply real talk in new sentences. So as much as you are building your new conversation sentences and using new phrases, try also to use the old part that we have. And as we said before, you have your vocabulary building, so try to use your vocabulary as much as possible. So this is what you have here for the conversation. We are going to move on, inshallah, in our next lesson, which is also the listening part.